Welcome to the Road to Maturity, Session 1. Our destination is maturity, and maturity is Christ-likeness. You know, God's plan, without a doubt, is that every single one of us go through spiritual development, spiritual growth, and spiritual formation where Christ is formed in us. And God doesn't desire that we just are Christ-like in our spirit man or the hidden man of our heart. And, you know, we talk a lot about that here at Grace Church, how we've been made righteous in our spirit. So he doesn't want just Christ-likeness in our spirit, but in our everyday attitudes and actions, our relationships, and, you know, how we treat each other and how we respond to adversity. I want to share with you Ephesians chapter 4, verse 11 through 16. In summation, talks about that he gave apostles and prophets and pastors, teachers, evangelists for the equipping of the saints, but it also says that he gave them so that we would grow up in all aspects into Christ. And then Romans chapter 8, verse 29, I'm going to read it for you. It says, "For whom God foreknew, he also predestined to be conformed to the image of his Son, that he might be the firstborn among many brethren." So in your discovery groups and small group atmospheres that you guys encounter here at Grace Church, you're going to find that everybody has different origins, different backgrounds, and different beginnings. And that's great. I mean, talk about some of those things. Share the different stories and beginnings that people have had on their journey. But with that, keep in mind, even though all of our beginnings are different, our destination is all the same. And it's not just going to heaven when we're dead. Our destination is Christ-likeness, and that is maturity. Although we're birthed in maturity, you know, our Father's desire is not that we stay there, because no parent could be content with a child that refuses to grow up, refuses to mature out of self-centeredness and always just thinking about themselves. No parent could be content bottle feeding their 31-year-old versus a 1-year-old. And so we see how the Father wills and plans for our maturity. He's our Father. He's our spiritual parent, if you will. And so it's his love that encourages us towards growth and development. And one of the great things he did, I think it's one of the most loving things he ever could have done, is he wrote this path or roadway to Christ-likeness, not just in Scripture. He wrote it in our bodies. He wrote it in our tissue. He wrote it into relationships. I mean, if you think about it, everything works to conform us to the image of Christ, and he loves us too much to let us settle down into immature attitudes. We're just not at home in, let's say, greed or self-centeredness, or how about this one, demanding our own way. You know, I was visiting with a gentleman today. We were just talking about his marriage and how he wants his marriage to be better, and, you know, sometimes it's a struggle. But I told him, I said, you can either be crucified voluntarily in your marriage. You're going to be crucified because you're married, okay? I said, you can be crucified in love, you know, like Christ, voluntarily, and give yourself for your wife. Or you can be crucified by all the chaos that immature attitudes and selfishness and demanding your own way create. And it's just such a simple solution, right? When I submit myself to Christ, myself is given back to me, heightened, empowered, and full of love. When I try to just save myself, promote myself, assert myself, I typically work my own ruin. So I just think that's one of the great things about our Father's love that he did for us. And lastly, I would say for you guys to take a look at, do you want the 11-day model to maturity or the 40-year model? Because the children of Israel had a journey that would have taken 11 days to the promised land. Instead, 40 years. Now, why is that? Why is that? Because there are things that the enemy and that things in life throw at us that try to block our road to maturity, maybe get us on an exit ramp here or there, or a detour or a barricade. And certainly one of those with the children of Israel was murmuring and complaining, unbelief, several things that contributed to what could have been a nice 11-day journey to the promised land that ended up being 40 years. So in your groups, I encourage you, as you talk tonight, that you share with each other what might be different roadblocks that each of you face on your road to maturity. And be honest. Discovery groups are a safe place where we can be honest with one another, share our thoughts and concerns. So talk about that as you get into everything tonight.